Yes, we are live now.
Okay, it's not recorded?
Yes.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and good night, able excellencies. It's a pleasure meeting us once again. We thank God for this great opportunity that God has given us the opportunity to see another day. I want to showcase the glory of God. We are calling upon God, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit to take over us, to take protection over everything we are going to do here today, to give us good health of mind and body. Thank you for all my listeners. Today is a unique day, a special day. The topic before us this afternoon is communicating supportively for mission. My slide will be on shortly. And if you look at the slide, slide 1 tells you about myself, an academician, senior professor, chaplain general, Ebhoria Charles. That's slide 1 showing you that we are having this opportunity to have this topic today, communicating supportively for mission. And today being 13th July 2023. By this time, look at slide 2. It also tells you, slide 2 tells you about myself also. By the special grace of God, as the Vice Chancellor, academician, senior professor, Dr. Chaplain General Ebhoria Osiholo. And slide 3 tells us that we need to pray. Before we do anything meaningful, successfully, we need God to bless us and for God to empower us. Slide 3, open prayer. Want to pray prayer for humility. Prayer for humility. Oh, Father, give us the humility which realizes its ignorance, admits its mistake, recognizes its needs, welcome advice, accept rebuke. Help us always to praise rather than to criticize, to sympathize rather than to discourage, to build rather than to destroy, and to think of people at their best rather than at their worst. This we ask for the name's sake. Amen. We go to slide 4 and welcoming every one of us once again, welcoming everybody. You are welcome to IIU so as to listen to the program before us, the subject, the program, topic, communicating supportively for mission. We now go to slide 5 that tells us to write down all our expectations. Slide 5, writing down our expectation. We have a question. I would like to answer this. I would like to know more about this. You stated there on the chat box. I would like to know more about this. You stated there. And also, my major interest is this, concerning the topic before us, communicating supportively for mission. Can you write it on the chat box? We'll go to slide 26, slide 6. Slide 6 tells us about the learning objective. Slide 6, learning objectives. We are going to know more about recognize personal strengths and weaknesses with communicating supportively. We're also going to learn about the 8 principles of supportive communication. We're also going to do some practical practice, giving negative feedback and correcting others without causing disconfirmation and defensiveness. In order to, we don't need to be defensive in doing what we are going to do. We need to allow everything to be on its own side. That's why we say defensiveness. And also, we are going to know when to coach and when to cancel. When to coach and when to cancel. In slide 7, it talks about the contents, the outline of the contents. We are going to also know about communicating supportively and positive relationship. We are also going to know about coaching versus counseling. the difference. If there is any difference, we're going to know today. Put on the chat box if you have any message concerning that. In slide 8, we're also going to look at my abridged profile. This is just my abridged profile. It's just a summary of my profile. Thank God. God be the glory. I've been working for the past 35 years. I have my church experience, education, my professional training, professional trainees. They are just a brief one you are seeing right now. I'm a certified counselor, a certified mentor, a certified trainer, a fellow from different fields of discipline, a fellow from different field of discipline, an educator, an educationist, a founder, a chancellor, a vice chancellor, a lay theologian, an ambassador, and a chaplain. So we go to slide 9. Slide 9 tells us about the self-assessment. Self-assessment. Please fill the pre-course assessment profile, responses, and interpretation. We go to slide 10. Tells us about the survey, skill assessment. Skill assessment, telling us slide 10, telling us about the diagnostic survey for supporting communication. Step 1, please respond to the following statement by writing a number from the rating scale below in the left-hand column, which is called the pre-assessment. Your answer should reflect your attitude and behavior as they are now, not as you would like them to be. Be honest about it. This instrument is designed to help you discover your level of competence in communicating supportively, so you can tailor your learning to your specific needs. When you have completed the survey, use the scoring key at the end of the chapter to identify the skills area discussed in this chapter that are most important for you to master. Step 2, after you have completed the module, cover up your first set of answers. Then respond to the same statement again. This time in the right-hand column, which is called the post-assessment. When you have completed the survey, use the scoring key at the end of the chapter to measure your progress. What are the rating scales? We have number 1. If you score yourself 1, that shows you strongly disagree. If you score yourself 2 from the assessment, that shows that you disagree. If you score yourself 3, that shows that you slightly disagree. If you score yourself 4, that shows that you slightly agree. If you score yourself 5, that shows that you agree. And if you score yourself or you rate yourself 6, that shows that you strongly agree. What are the assessments? It goes like this. We have the pre, we have the post. In situation where I have to provide negative feedback or offer corrective advice. 1, I'm clear about when I should coach someone and when I should provide counseling instead. You score yourself from those points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you score yourself 5, that shows you agree. When you score yourself 6, that shows that you strongly agree. When you score yourself 3, that shows that you slightly disagree. When you score yourself 4, that shows that you slightly agree. Score yourself 2, that shows that you disagree. And 1, you strongly disagree. I repeat again, by 1, I am clear about when I should coach someone and when I should provide counseling instead. 2, I am able to help others recognize and define their own problem when I counsel them. You score yourself. I am able to completely honest in the feedback that I give to others, even when it is negative. 4, when I give feedback to others, I avoid referring to personal characteristics and focus on problems, solution instead. 5, I always link negative feedback to a standard or expectation that has been violated. 6, when I try to correct someone's behavior, our relationship is almost always strengthened. 7, I am descriptive in giving negative feedback to others. That is, I objectively describe events, their consequences, and my feelings about them. In slide 11, we look at in a situation where I have to provide negative feedback or offer corrective advice. What do I do? 8, I always suggest specific alternative to individual whose behavior I am trying to correct. 9, I reinforce other people's sense of self-worthy and self-esteem in my communication with them. 10, I convey genuine interest in the other person's point of view, even when I disagree with them with it. 11, I don't talk down to those who have less power or less information than I. 12, even when I feel strongly about my point of view, I convey to others that I am flexible and open to new information. 13, I strive to identify some area of agreement in a discussion with someone who has a different point of view. 14, my feedback is always specific and to the point, rather than general or vague. 15, I don't dominate conversation with others. You score yourself. 16, I take ownership of my statements and point of view by using personal words such as I think instead of impersonal words such as they think. 17, when discussing someone's problem, I actually respond with a reply that indicates understanding rather than advice. 18, when asking questions of others in order to understand their viewpoints better, I generally ask what question instead of why questions. 19, I hold regular private meetings with people with whom I work and with whom I live. 20, I understand clearly when it is appropriate to offer advice and direction to others and when it is not. Slide 12. Slide 12. It talks about communication styles. What are the communication styles we use? Slide 12. This assessment instrument is divided into 2 parts in communication skills. In part 1, 4 people complain about problems they face in their job. Following each complaint are 5 possible responses. Rank 3 of the responses you would be most likely to make, with 3 being your first choice, 2 being your second choice, and 1 being your third choice. Part 2 of the assessment describe a particular situation. Several pairs of statements follows. Place a check mark next to the statement in each pair that you would most likely use in responding to that situation. Don't identify your preference Rather, mark the alternative that are most like your current behavior. To score the communication styles instrument, turn to the end of the chapter to find the answer key and an interpretation of your scores. Part one. In part one, we look at, I have been in this job now for 6 months, and I hardly know anyone at all in the organization. I just can't seem to make friends or to be accepted by other people. Most people are extremely busy, and I don't take time to socialize. I feel isolated and excluded from what's going on. From the assessment, we have said in part one that we should pick among the points that are stated there. So the one that befits it is what we are going to put on board there. What are those ones we are going to look at? Rank 3 of the responses you will be most likely to make, with 3 being your first choice, that's 3, 2 being your second choice, and 1 being your third choice. The question goes like this. Don't be concerned about not making friends so soon. Things will get better the longer you are with the organization. You will see. B, when you first meet people, what do you say? Are you the one to be friendly first? You score yourself, just as I said. 3, being your first choice. 2, being your second choice. And 1, being your third choice. Because organization members are so busy, probably no one has time to get close socially. You should not expect too much. You score, you put a point, the other 3, 2, or 1. The fourth choice is you put 3. The second choice, you put 2. And the third one, you put 1, based on how you take it. D. So you are feeling that people have not accepted you in the organization. E. When I first joined the organization, it took me more than 6 months to get adjusted. I still don't know some of the people in several departments. That of part 2, which we are going to look at the area of check, it would say several pairs of statements follow place. A check mark next to the statement in each pair that you will most likely use in correspondence to that situation. Don't identify your preference. Rather, mark the alternative that are most like your current behavior. Mark the alternative that are most like your current behavior. To score the communication style instrument, turn to the end of the chapter to find the answer key and an interpretation of yours. It goes like this. 1. I can't stand by boss. I can't stand my boss. He is the most autocratic, demanding person you can imagine. I have never walked around anyone who cares less for his employee than he does. His complete insensitivity and lack of humanity have made this miserable place to work. Slide 13. A, you now pick which one among those I said, those points I raised. A, you sound as if you are having difficulties dealing with rigid control and authority. B, I know how you feel because last year we had a woman in our department who would drive anybody crazy. She was the ultimate dominion boss. You score yourself there. Which one is the most preference among those? C, you are going to have problem unless you work this out. I think you should go to him and tell him how you feel. D, you really are having a hard time adjusting to your boss. Are you not? E, why is it you feel so strongly about him? 3, what I want to know is what happened on that promotion decision. I thought I was in line for it. I'm sure no else in the department has my experience, and the score 2 bots I had indicated the job was mine for the asking. I'm really disappointed that you brought in someone from the outside over me. I don't think it's fair. What does it take to get promoted around here? Anyway, A, what was it that made you think this promotion was yours? Are you aware of the requirement of the job and what kind of person we are looking for? B, don't be discouraged. Your work is good, and if you are patient, I'm sure other chances will come along. I will try to help you be ready the next time around. C, I think you have the wrong impression about this. The criteria were very close for the new position, and the other person was just a better fit. D, in other words, you feel kind or puzzled about where you stand with the company. E, are you interpreting this promotion decision as a challenge to your technical competence? Hi, 4, what's the idea of not approving my request for a new personal computer? I really need it in the office. We have gotten far more work to do than one machine can handle, and we are doing things manually that ought to be done on spreadsheets. And don't give me that old story about tight company resources again. I have been in line for new equipment for a long time now. A, I understand that you are really upset about getting your request approved. B, why do you need a new computer? Can you borrow one during the time you really feel the crunch? C, you know others are feeling or facing the same problem. We are having a terrible time trying to get the necessary work accomplished with the existing machine. Slide 14. If you will be patient, I am sure I can work out a solution to your problem. E, we turn you down because resources are really tight. You will just have to make do. Part 2, you are the manager of Carol Shelter, a 58 years old supervisor who has been with the company for 21 years. She was retired at age 62. The year she eligible for a full pension. The trouble is her performance is sliding She is not inclined to go the extra mile by putting in extra time when required. And occasionally, he works is even a little stream short. Several line workers and customers have complained that she treated them rather abstractly and without much sensitivity, even though superior customer service is a hallmark of your organization. She does not do anything bad enough to be fired, but she's just not performing up to level you expect. Assume that you are having your monthly one-on-one meeting with her in your office. Which of the statements in each pair will you be most likely to use? A, I have received complaints from some of your customers that you have not followed company standard in being responsive to their requests. B, you don't seem to be motivated to do a good job anymore, Carol. 2A, I know that you are doing a great job as supervisor, but there is just one small thing I want to raise with you about a customer complaint. Probably not for serious. I have some concern about several aspects of your performance on the job, and I would like to discuss them with you, which is more reasonable. Instead of saying the letter A, I know that you are doing a great job as supervisor, but there is just one small thing I want to raise with you about customer complaint. Probably not too serious. The B part now said, I have some concern about several aspects of your performance on the job, and I would like to discuss them with you, which is reasonable. 3A, when one of your subordinates called the other day to complain that you have criticalized his work in public, I became concerned. I suggest that you sit down with the subordinate to walk through any hard feelings that might still exist. The B part is better. You know, of course, that you are wrong to have criticized your subordinate's work in public. That's a sure way to create antagonism and lower. 4A, I would like to see following changes in your performance. As in, 1, I have received complaints from some of your customers that you have not followed company standard in being responsive to their requests. And 2, I know that you are doing a great job as supervisor, but there is just one small thing I want to raise with you about a customer complaint, probably not too serious. And the other aspect of when one of your subordinates called the other day to complain that you had criticalized his work in public, I became concerned. I suggest that you sit down in with that subordinate to walk through any hard feeling that might still exist. So it's not the correct one now is that I would like to see the following changes in your performance, as in that statement that was said. I have some idea for helping you to improve, but first, what do you suggest? Look at that. It brings a peaceful atmosphere. 5A, I must tell you that I am disappointed in your performance. B is not saying a very nice one. Several of our employees seem to be unhappy with how you have been performing lately. slide 15. Let's look at slide 15. It tells about the skill that person has, as in all this area. As in the first one of comparing, communicating supportively, and also the communication style. Let us look at the area of the key of comparing data, communicating supportively. We have that to 1 to 20. The first one that was said, the survey that was said 1 to 20. We're going to look at it, where the skills now fall on. For instance, now, when you look at the knowledge of coaching and counseling, can be seen in number 1, which says, I am clear about when I should coach someone and when I should provide counseling instead. Look at that. That shows that that person has the what? Knowledge of coaching and counseling skill. Look at number 2. Number 2 again of that slide 10 that shows 1 to 20. Number 2 said, I am able to help others recognize and define their own problem when I counsel them. Look at that. And number 20, that shows that person has a coaching skill and counseling skill. And number 20 says, I understand clearly when it is appropriate to offer advice and direction to others and when it is not. That shows that such person has what we call knowledge of coaching and counseling. Let us also look at the areas called the key in the area of the skill area of providing effective negative feedback. Providing effective negative feedback. We look at the assessment of number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Number 3 of slide 10 said, I am able to completely honest in the feedback that I give to others, even when it is negative. That shows that that person has proved effective negative feedback. Number 4 said, when I give feedback to others, I avoid referring to personal characteristics and focus on problem solution instead of what? Problem solution. You avoid personal characteristics. An issue arises, you are being personalized. No, you look at the problem and focus on the problem. That shows that person has what we call providing effective negative feedback. So let us look at number 5 of it. Number 5. Among the 20 skills, 20 questions, assessment question, number 5 said, I always link negative feedback to a standard or expectation that has been violated, providing effective negative feedback. Number 6 also, when I try to correct someone's behavior, our relationship is almost always strengthened. Because you correct that person, the relationship will be strengthened. But failure to correct that person now, it will be somehow, it will not be good. So it's better we do that correction in correcting people so that we can have that peaceful atmosphere. We can have that playful and kind atmosphere, loving atmosphere to work together and to communicate together. Let us look at number 7. I am descriptive in giving negative feedback to others. Look at that. I'm descriptive. That means the person doesn't, before he gives any negative, he looks at it very well, describe it very well. That is objectively describe events and their consequences and my feelings about them. Look at that. That shows that person has provided effective negative feedback. And also that number 8 also tells us I always suggest specific alternative to individual whose behavior I am trying to correct. Look at that. I always suggest specific alternative to individual whose behavior I am trying to correct. That shows that person has the skill of providing effective negative feedback. So let us look at communicating supportively. Look at number 9 of slide 11. Slide 11, you see number 9, it says, I reinforce other people's sense of self-worthy and self-esteem in my communication with them. Look at that. That shows that person has a communicating supportively skill. Look at number 10 also. I convey genuine interest in the other person's point of view, even when I disagree with it. I convey a genuine interest in the other person's point of view, even when I disagree with it. Look at number 11. I don't talk down to those who have less power or less information than I. That same person has demonstrated communicating supportively. Look at number 12. Even when I feel strongly about my point of view, I convey to others that I am flexible and open to new information. Look at that. So let us look at number 13. I strive to identify some area of agreement in a discussion with someone who has a different point of view. Look at that. That person is having communicating supportively skill. We also look at number 14. Excuse me. My feedback is always specific and to the point rather than general or vague. That's a supportive communication skill. We look at number 15 also. I don't dominate conversation with others. Look at that. Another communicating supportive skill, we look at number 17. When discussing someone's problem, I usually respond with a reply that indicates understanding rather than advice. Not everybody likes advice, just understanding. You put the person in a situation whereby the person will understand. By the time we do that, I'm telling you, everything will be well. There will be peaceful environment. There will be supportive communication skill. Look at number 18. Said, when asking questions of others, in order to understand their viewpoints better, I generally ask what question instead of why question. What question? That number 19. I hold regular private meeting with people with whom I work and with whom I live. Look at that. I hold regular private meeting with people with whom I work and with whom I live. That shows that person has a communicating supporting skill. So I will look at that slide 16, slide 15. Let's look at slide 16. Slide 16 talks about the skill that person has in the area of the other parts of the exercise, which I read, survey. It talks about the following. Identify the type of response pattern that you rely on the most by adding the numbers you gave to each response alternative in part 1. You will discuss the advantage and disadvantage of each of these response types in class. The most skilled supportive communicator score 9 or above on reflecting responses and 6 on above on probing responses. They score 2 or less on advising responses and 4 or less on deflecting responses. Look at that. There are scores one need to have in what we have done in that communication styles. The most skilled support communicators score 9 or above in reflecting responses and in 6 or above in probing responses. They score 2 or less on advising responses and 4 or less on deflating responses. In part 2, circle the alternative that you choose. The most skilled supportive communication select alternative 1A, 2B, 3A, 4B, and 5B, just like we discussed earlier. For instance, now, like in part 1A, let us look at the slide of communication skill, which we did earlier. Look at 1A. 1A says what? 1A says what? I have been in this job now for 6 months, and I hardly know anyone at all in the organization. I just can't seem to make friends or to be accepted by other people. Most people are extremely busy and I don't take time to socialize. I feel isolated and excluded from what is going on. Look at that. In that aspect, as inform us that that person has responded what? Deflecting response. Deflecting response. Let us look at B. B of that aspect. We are in slide 12. We are trying to assess that slide 12. B of it, saying what? In part 1, B of it. He said, when you first meet people, what do you say? Are you the one to be friendly first? Are you the one to be friendly first? We look at the aspect of what? Probing response. Probing response. Probing response. That's what we look at in that area. Probing response. And the aspect of C, 1C, part 1C, tells us because organization members are so busy, probably no one has time to get close socially. You should not expect too much. Too much. Look at that. That is what we call advisory response. Advisory response. You should not be expecting too much. We look at 1D of the communication style. So you are feeling that people have not accepted you in the organization. Look at that. So you are feeling that people have not accepted you in the organization. What area of a problem? What area of this time we are going to assess that one? We are going to look at that one as reflecting response. Reflecting response. Let us look at that 1E. Says, when I first joined the organization, it took me more than 6 months to get adjusted. I still don't know some of the people in the several departments. I still don't know some of the people in the, that shows that that is what we call deflecting response. Deflecting response. We also look at the 2A of slides. When we look at slide 13, 2A of it says, you sound as if you are having difficulty dealing with rigid control and authority. You sound Yeah, sorry for that breaking transmission. I don't know, the network has not been so friendly. Actually, we're in slide 16. We are trying to look at this communication style to see the best approach and the name of all those responses. That is what we are trying to do then. But we thank God. We are assessing that slide 16 with that of slide 12, looking at the area, the responses of what each person is saying and their meaning, the skill they have. That's what we are trying to actualize. But probably after this area, maybe the other aspect will be able to showcase it better. But I'm trying to look at the survey area. These are things we need to know. I haven't known this one. You don't have any issue. Unlike the other one, you understand it very well. That's why we are trying to use our pain to analyze all those areas so that we know how to communicate better, like the communication style. Like what we have here in slide slide 13, in the area of looking at it from the aspect of which is 2A. We have analyzed that one. Let us look at the area of 3A. 3A, we look at the aspect of the question being asked. What I want to know is that what happened on that promotion decision, as in the aspects of a question being asked. They want to know one or two things so as to know what to do. So we look at that aspect, but probably because I don't know, the network is not friendly, but we hope it will be friendly as we move ahead. Give me some more time. Short time. Give me 2 minutes. Okay. We're in slide 16. So in slide 16, we look at the aspect of communication skill in part 3. Part 3 of that. Part 3 said, when one of your subordinates called the other day to complain that you had criticized his work in public, I became concerned. I suggest that you sit down with the subordinate to walk through any hard feeling that might still exist. Any hard feeling that might still exist. Look at that. That one, we call it a probing response. Let us look at the part B of it. You know, of course, that you are wrong to have criticized your subordinates' work in public. That's a sure way to create antagonism and lower, which when we look at it now, we look at it that it's not good, and it is what we call deflating response. We also look at number 4A in slide 14. We look at, I would like to see the following changes in your performance, as in changes. That is 1 and 2 and 3 above, as read earlier. When we look at that one, it shows reflecting state response. It is called reflecting response. We also look at the aspect of B, 4B. I have some ideas for helping you to improve. But first, what do you suggest? Look at that. I have some ideas for helping you to improve. But first, what do you suggest? When you look at that aspect now, you can turn that as what we call 4A, which is reflecting response. Look at that B of it, or 4B. I have some idea for helping you to improve. 4B, to improve. But first, what do you suggest? Yes, just as I earlier said, is what we call probing response. We look at it's what we call probing response. Yes. We look at the other aspects of the skill. That is slide 17. Slide 17. Slide 17. We have not finished. No, sorry. The aspect of 3A, when one of your subordinates called the other day to complain what you had critically criticized in his work in public, I became concerned. I suggest that you sit down with that subordinate to walk through any hard feeling that might exist, any hard feeling that might exist. We look at that area as descriptive statements. And the other aspect of evaluative statement, we look at, of course, that you are wrong to have criticized your subordinate work in public. That's a sure way to create antagonists and lower. When we look at the aspect of 4A, I would like to see the following changes in your performance. Saying that is invalidating statement. And when we look at B of it says that I have some ideas for helping you to improve. But first, what do you suggest? We are looking at validating statements. And 5A talks about, I must tell you that I am disappointed in your performance. That shows their owning statement. And 5B, several of our employees seems to be unhappy with how you have been performing lately. That shows his own statements. So let us look at slide 17. Slide 17 talks about diagnosing problem and fostering understanding, as in the following company, like the United Chemical Company and the Borough vs. Thomas, of what are the observer feedback, as in what happened. We look at as this observer rates the extent to which each of the role player display the following behavior effectively. Use the following numerical rating scale for each person. Identify specific things that each person can do to improve his or her performance. Look at rating 1, shows that strongly disagree. Rating 2 shows that disagree. Rating 3 shows that neither. And rating 4 shows agreed. And rating 5 shows strongly agreed. So having looked at that area now, we are looking at the aspect of communication attributes, which we earlier said we have 6 principles, like they communicated congruently, and look at the use of descriptive communication, look at the use of problem-oriented communication. We look at the use of validatory communication. We also look at the use of specific and qualified communication. We use the use of conjunctive communication, the own statement, and use the personal words. All these are very important. And the skill inventive statements. We look at all those that use a variety of response, alternative, and appropriately. When we look at slide 18 talks about supportive communication, which we already said, it has 8 principles. The congruent and not incongruent. A focus on honest message when verbal statement match thoughts and feelings. A focus on honest statement where verbal statement match thoughts and feelings. Example of it: your behavior really upsets me. Not, do I seem upset? No, everything is just fine. Look at that. The area of a descriptive are not evaluative. Look at a focus on describing an objective concurrence, describing your reaction to it, and offering a suggestion, alternative. What are the examples? Like description: you have finished fewer projects this month than anyone else in the division. What is your reaction like? I am concerned about our productivity. What are the suggested alternatives? I would like to help you identify what stands in the way of higher performance. Not, you didn't produce this month, you are just crazy or lazy. No, don't use that one. In the area of problem-oriented, not personal-oriented or persons-oriented. You look at the area, it's focused on problems and issues that can be changed rather than people and their characteristics. Example, we don't seem to see things the same way. How can we solve this problem? Not you are insensitive, you are the problem. No, using that will create enmity. The communication, there will be a communication gap. It will not be good. And we also have what's called validating and not validating, invalidating. Validating, a focus on statements that communicate respect, flexibility, collaboration, and area of agreement. Example, I have some idea, but I would really like to hear your suggestions. Not, what do you know? Have you even logged into community connections? No, that one will be very bad. Look at slide 19. Slide 19 talks about specific and not global. When we are addressing things, when we talk of specific, we mean a focus on specific events or behavior and avoid general, extreme, or either or statements. Example, if bothers me, when it bothers me when you take while our speaker, when you are talking, while our speaker is giving their presentation, I know our time together is short. Maybe we should chat after the meeting is over. Look at, not you always talk so loudly during our conference meeting. That cannot hear the speaker, that we cannot hear the speaker. Look at that. In the other area of conjunctive and not disconjunctive, we look at a focus on statement that flow from what has been said previously and facilitate interaction. Example, relating to what you just said, I would like to raise another point. Not, I want you to hear me. And besides, 6 months ago, you were late for a conference meeting. Look at that. It brings enmity. It doesn't bring peace. It doesn't bring goodness. It doesn't bring kindness. Own and disown. A focus on taking responsibility for your own statement by using personal I words. Example, I have decided to turn down your request because whatever, and not, you might have a pretty good idea, but it will never get approved by the conference. So there, that is a strong statement. And we look at the aspect of supportive listening, not one-way listening, supportive. What do we mean by that? A focus on using a variety of appropriate responses with a bias towards reflecting responses. Example, can you tell me your thoughts about this project or idea? Not, excuse me, I have the floor. Look at that. All this doesn't bring peace, doesn't bring harmony, but it brings enmity, which is not also good in working place or any place one is. Look at slide 20. Slide 20 talks about the communicating supportively and positive relationship. You are welcome to this special section, and feel free to put anything, to put your message or whatever on the chat box. And slide 21 talks about discussion. These are discussion on what was said earlier. 1, recall a recent situation in which your listener took offense at your communication. What happened? You write it on the chat box. Recall a recent situation in which your listener took offense at your communication. What happened? Look at the other aspect. Number 2, how did the person react? How did the person react? Reaction matters with everything we are doing. How did he react before you take that action? Number 3, your opinion. In your opinion, what are the source of these problems? Look at that. What are the source of these problems? The area of discussion 4, what has been the lingering effect of that interaction? Something must have gingered it. Something must have been. So these are the things we look at when we are doing communication. And slide 22 talks about discussion also. It's a discussion. Recall an interaction you had with someone that gave you negative feedback, but you left with the feelings that the relationship had been strengthened. What happened? What did he or she do? Kindly write your answer on the chat box. Slide 23 talks about the communicating supportively builds positive relationship. What are the benefits of the positive interpersonal relationship on us and others? One, it energizes, it revitalizes, it lives, and it flourishes others. Two, it improves personal well-being, higher productivities. By the time we say all the, it makes higher productivity when you are using communicating supportively. It also long life expectancy, long life. You don't need to be having BP. You will be happy because you are happy doing the job. You will have long life, prolonged life. And also when you are supporting supporting communication positively, it shows that it expands your mental capacities. It also have fear stress. Look at that, fear stress related illnesses. Fear, you don't need. By the time you are working, where you are working, there's no support in it. It gives headache. It makes someone to be distracted. It makes you to feel somehow, of which you yourself will not be happy. Look at that. Also, when you are working supportively, it builds what? It recover quickly from surgery and illness. It makes you to recover on time. When you, even though you are sick, you see somebody supporting you, you will feel happy. That illness will go, and you will be healthy. You bounce back. But whereby there is no support, there is stress, you find yourself, you won't be able to work successfully. Also, let us look at this in an educational environment. When you are supporting positively, having that relationship, what happened? One, better information exchanges, better informations are being exchanged, and a participation, commitment leading to greater productivity and success. It fosters cooperation, it brings about cooperation. Look at that. People perform and learn better. People perform and learn better because they are happy in doing it. That's why it's always good to be happy. That is why God has created us, for us to be happy in this world, not thereafter. This world, we start happy. Depends on how we which our self-happiness is what we are going to wish other people. When you want to be other people to be happy, you yourself will be happy. But if you don't want somebody to be happy, you will not be happy. People perform and learn better. Look at that. And it reduces what? Conflicts, disagreement, confusion, ambiguity, unproductive competition, anger, personal offenses. Look at that. It also increases loyalty, commitment to the institution, and the faith and vision and mission of the institution. Look at that. It improves creativity and ability to adapt to changes. We look at slide 24. Result of ineffective communication. What are the results? Dislike each other, be offended by each other, lose confidence in each other, refuse to listen to each other, disagreement with each other, distance and distrustful and uncaring, interpersonal relationship. Look at that. It's not ideal. Restriction and inadequate, accurate information and the effective communication flow. Pull himself or herself down, PhD syndromes. Look at that. Go to slide 25. Problem with suppressed and indirect communication. One, it escalates issues. The problem refuses to be wished away. Adversary affects mental and physical health. In slide 26, it talks about the communication problem. Most leaders have poor communication skill and do not know or acknowledge. We all can improve our communication skill by focusing on accuracy, the ability to transmit clear and precise message, being aware of inconsistent pronunciation, e.g., we polish furniture. He could lead if he would get the lead out. A farm can produce. Look at that. If two of them, there are two different meanings to it, but it depends on one's pronunciation. Polish and polish. A place, a country, and polishing of shoe, polish, all those areas. Look at that. It depends on how we pronounce it. And slide 27, we look at effective communication. One, it conveying intended message in a clear and precise manner. Effective communication Look at the email or face-to-face. They are effective communication. You look at ensuring that the message is interpreted as intended and used effectively. Look at it, depends on the relationship of trust and shared contents. Over communicating is always better than under communicating. Look at that. Over communicating is better than under communicating. Slide 28, supportive communication. One, it helps us build positive relationship with negative people. Those whom underperform or make mistake and blunder by enhancing feelings of trust, openness, and support while still addressing the problem at hand, e.g., negative feedback, resolve a difficult issue with another person, resulting in strengthening of the relationship. It is an important skill to learn and to teach institutional group or persons. Slide 29 talks about review and conclusion. Any clarification, question, any contribution towards that aspect of communicating supportively. We look at slide 30, talks about the principle of supportive communication, the area of welcoming to this system, to this section again. Feel free to chat your feelings on the chat box. This is another aspect, the principles, which we treated during the time we were doing survey. If we are not fully clear in that survey, we'll be clear now. This is another area of expression. But if we are clear in that survey we did, we will be okay here. But let us look at it again. 8 principles of supportive communication. What are they? It was treated earlier. Chat it on the box if actually you are following the strain of what we are saying. Discuss specific example of each of these principles. Foster an engaged institute and spiritually committed members, and how not keeping to them does the opposite. What are they? They are the problem-oriented, not person-oriented. Problem, look at the problem. You don't look at the person. Looking at the person, there will be promotion. It will not be good. And also, you look at the congruent, not the incongruent. We also look at the descriptive and not the evaluative. We look at the validating and not the invalidating. We look at the specific aspect, not the global. We also look at the area of conjunctive, not the disconjunctive. We look at the area of owned, not the disowned. We look at the area of supportive listening and not one way. It's always good to listen, not one way, whereby the person will be talking without listening, because commotion. Slide 32, reading and discussion exercise, just like we did the other time. And that is what he's saying now. During the time, most of us take turn to read the 8 attributes, which I did earlier, of supportive communication. Those who listen when I was reading it should identify on the chat box by writing, yes, I listened. And take a moment after each one to think about times you negate any of these attributes, which we said earlier. What was your motivation, or what made you to do so? How will you act differently going forward, as in using the 8 attributes? Slide 33, obstacle to communication. Excuse me. 1, we have the defensiveness. Look at that. One individual feel threatened or attacked as a result of the communication, then the person has to defend. And we also look at the self-protection becomes paramount in that defense, which is obstacle to communication. We also look at the aspect of defense again. Energy is spent on the constructing a defense rather than on listening. Look at that. You are trying to construct a defense. Use energy is being loose. You spend energy. What is the essence? These are obstacles to communication. We look at slide 34 that talks about the obstacle to communication too, whereby we say disconfirmation. In that aspect, we look at individual feels incompetent, unworthy, or insignificant as a result of the communication. Look at that. We also look at the area of attempt to re-establish what take presidency. Look at that. Energy is spent trying to portray self-importance rather than on listening. Showing off, self-centered behavior, withdrawal, and loss of motivation are common interaction in this area of disconfirmation. It's not always good. These are hindering to communication. We look at slide 35. Supportive communication requires active listening and responding effectively to someone else's statements. Look at slide 36, talk about the effective listening. In skill important for managers, effective listening was ranked highest. Effective listening for managers. If for a manager to be a good manager, you must have listening ears. Individuals usually understand about a fourth of what is communicated, when you are, that's what individual, that's what you want from a research point of view. In slide 37, we look at responding to others. Responding to others. What are the types of responses we have? We treated it the other time with example, like the advising, deflecting, probing, reflecting. When we talk of advising, it provides direction, evaluation, personal opinion, or instructions. And when we talk of advising, it creates listening control over the topic. When we talk of advising, it can provide defense. When we look at slide 39, we're talking of the deflecting, the switching, trying to cause confusion, which is very bad. Switch the focus from communicator problem to one selected by the listener. Look at that. When you talk of deflecting, we look at the appropriate if reassurance is needed. Imply that the communicator issue are not important when somebody is deflecting your statement, meaning what you are saying is not important, it's not relevant, and it's not always good. You do it politely. Look at the aspect of slide 40, probing. When you are probing, what are you trying to do? Ask question about what the communicator said. Also, you use to gather information. When we are probing, you are gathering information, which is very, very good. When you are probing also, can appear that the communicator must justify what is happening. You are probing. So we look at slide 41, types of probes. We have collaboration probe, we have clarification probe, we have the repetition probe, and we have the reflection probe. Slide 42, we have reflecting. Mirror back to the communicator the message that has had. You mirror it back. When you think back, you look at it. Also, when you are reflecting, you involve paraphrasing and clarifying. Also, could appear that the listener isn't listening, so you reflect. The listener isn't listening. Could appear. The question now: what was your most dominant first response style? What was your most dominant response style? Put it in the chat box. Let's see. What was your most dominant first response style? The answer to that, generally, aim to be more of a reflector and less of an advisor. It's always good you reflect more than to advise people. In your first response to others, you reflect more than less of advice. Look at slide 43, talks about what? Discussion. Can they write on the chat box the answer? When it is appropriate to advise. When is it appropriate to advise? When is it appropriate to deflect? When is it appropriate to probe? And when is it appropriate to reflect? All this area, they has their time to do. You don't just do it randomly or anyhow. It has, when is it appropriate? Put it on the chat box, let's see, and we'll be able to move ahead. Look at slide 44. It talks about relationship. Group 1, find somebody else. Look at that. It's a group discussion. It's a group discussion. It's an open place whereby we take ourselves to, we have a class. But because of time, let me just give a summary of it. The group 1 will now be finding somebody else, maybe in an appointment. Somebody is not doing very well. You find somebody to replace. These are the things these group 1 people will be looking at. Why group 2 people? Whatever plan they are doing, they'll be rejecting it. A group of people, They will be whatever plan, they will be rejecting it. You now see at the end of the period, you will see that it's always good. We'll find solution to things rather than rejecting whatever plan one is bringing. It's a way of trying to tell us that communications is very important, and most especially supportive one, rather than rejecting people's offer. It's not always good. It's just a case study to show that it is very bad. People may be having good things to do. When you are rejecting their plan, it's not good. Sometimes consider it, look at it holistically, and you'll be able to justify the solution and to be healthy in an environment. Read the case study, which we did earlier. Answer the question as a group. Choose one person to present your response. This is different from the case study used in Google class in the United Chemical Company. Yes. So in slide 45, look at the review and conclusion, clarification, question, and contribution. Look at slide 48, coaching and counseling. You are welcome to another section. Feel free to chat on the chat box, either to appreciate or comment what you feel about coaching and counseling. Slide 47 talks about coaching and counseling. When you are coaching, it gives giving advice, direction, or information to improve performance. And when you are counseling, helping someone understand and resolve a problem in or by displaying understanding. Look at that. When you are counseling, you display understanding. When you are coaching, it gives advice, direction, and information to improve performance in counseling, in coaching, while this other counseling is there to display understanding. In slide 48, you look at coaching and counseling. Coaching focus on ability, having that ability to do it. You know the job, you know the onions, you do it. When you are counseling, you focus on attribute and behavior. Attribute and behavior. Slide 49, when to coach. When to coach. When you lack of ability, you try to coach, you receive coach. Inefficient information, you go for coach. Nobody's above it. Everybody, we are all learners. That's why we learn every day. Incompetent, if you feel that you are not measuring up to, you are incompetent, it's a way of going for coaching. Subordinate must understand the problem. You see, the subordinate must understand the problem before you go for coaching. If he doesn't know what the problem is all about, what is passing through, how will he be able to know when the coacher is coaching him? He must understand the problem. Slide 50, when to cancel. Personality clashes. When there is personality clashes, we go for counseling. When there is what we call defensiveness, you are experiencing defensiveness all the time, you go for counseling. It's not good to be defensive. Just like the case study we studied then, and you try to be moderate. When also other factors tied to emotion, when your emotion is so distinct, you are not tolerant, you are not doing what you're supposed to do, as in the fear of God, making sure the presence of God, feeling the presence of God, you need to go for counseling. I can help you recognize in counseling. The counselor will help you to recognize it. If you don't recognize by the existing problem, that's what we do in counseling. The other aspect of slide 51, we look at the personal management interview. Personal management interview talks about a regular schedule, one-on-one meeting between institute leaders and the members of volunteer, one-on-one. That's what we call personal management interview, one-on-one basis. Slide 52 talks about when to use it in a working environment. Is good. Family, in social organization, institution, and religious organization. How does this help to develop spirituality committed members and engaged institute from the vision of engaged and committed institution? So put on the chat box, and also look at there is someone in my institute that encouraged my commitment and spiritual development. In the last 6 months, someone in my institute organization has talked to me about my spiritual growth. In my institute organization, I have opportunity to learn and grow. I speak words of kindness to those in need of encouragement. Vision of spirituality committed my members and educators. We look at slide 53, the role, negotiation, expectation, responsibility, standard of evaluation, reporting relationship, and also are clarified. We look at the communicates freely, openly, and collaboratively. We look at the focus, problems, information sharing, interpersonal issues, obstacles to improvement, training in management skill, individual needs, feedback on job performance, personal capability, personal concern, problems, spiritual and faith development. We also look at the aspect of time to report information, work out issues, receiving coaching and counseling, improve performance. Both parties prepare agenda for the meeting. Both parties improve on personal, interpersonal organization issue. Literally and not top down. Allow about an hour. So we also look at when you are giving feedback to others, what do you do? What are those things you do in slide 54? We look at the frame, convey your positive intent. I like so. I like this, how you start I like, we are conveying your positive intent. Evidence, describe specifically what you have observed. I notice whatever. Look at the aspect of the effects. Describe your own reaction. Your whole reaction as in the behavior and action. It has this effect of diagnostic. You look at describe alternative and suggest option for improvement. I suggest, when you're inviting responses, what do you think and feel about it? Giving feedback. You look at slide 55, receiving feedback from others. What do you do? Focus on the content, not on the person. Listen attentively, calmly, and attentively. Excuse me. Clarify the feedback. Clarify the feedback. You pause when you are receiving feedback from other people. You pause. You acknowledge the other person's insights, not just your own insight. Whatever is saying, you also recognize it, and whatever you are saying, both you go. You avoid defending and over-explaining. Avoid it. And you welcome suggestions when you are receiving feedback from others. Slide 56. Review and conclusion. The clarification, the question, contribution was what I've said so far. And slide 57, appreciation IIU. IIU International University is a leading virtual education system, a global brown configuration, which is the most valuable and trusted worldwide, and well reputed in delivering innovative program. Globally, it is a trusted name for quality training program and is committed to providing better virtual education to all the young learners of the globe. In a short span of time, IIU has spread its wings in 155 countries and 6 continents under the strong leadership of its visionary founder, Advocate Piyush Pandita, a committed visionary and inspiring social activist, a passionate educationalist from the last 2 decades, providing education to students from various social and cultural backgrounds. We look at slide 58, talks about the mission of IIU. Many students lack the opportunity of quality education when they opt for skill and learning-based ventures. IIU provide the perfect opportunity for those students who want to pursue their studies and want to research in the field of technology, science, and social humanities. We aim at providing internship along with a golden chance of completing them diploma and professional degree, virtually with no fees and at their homes. This opportunity will allow the student to gain experience and get guidance from mentors from their respective nations. We believe that students can avail any course and degree without wasting their money on transportation or any other unnecessary charges, and will have full access to the online lectures. Students can finish their graduation or courses in 3 to 5 years without visiting the campus physically. IIU made it possible for every curious learner to benefit from its credits and non-credit system to finish their undergraduate or postgraduate degree while offering an excess of choice for them. It will be a gateway of success to their desired profession by eliminating all possible hurdles. We open the door for everyone at a global level who would love to avail the courses virtually and would admire those who cease their study for various purposes to achieve excellency in the field of virtual education at affordable price and free education for the privilege, reaching every child at every doorstep across the world. Provision of informative online and visual education by maintaining global quality that makes the teaching and the learning needs of the IIU academic and research community a gateway of success to one's desired profession by eliminating all the possible hurdles, an opportunity for students to gain experience and also to get guidance from mentors across the globe. Slide 55 talks about question and answer. Any question? Set it there. My next class will be able to treat it. In slide 60, I appreciate you all. Thank you. Thanking God and appreciating IIU and all our team for this noble occasion. IIU, the world's first virtual international internship university, is the change. IIU brings the change, and IIU is the revolution in education. Thank you all our listeners, supporters. May God continue to empower us as we continue to empower other people. As we are working, we are also trying to make people happy and trying to make people focus. It is when people are focused, we are also happy. We will be more focused. We just bless God for today, and we appreciate God for his good work, for what he has doing. That's why we're going to have a closing prayer. We started with an opening prayer. My closing prayer is this: Dear Lord, teach me to be always true and honest in my emotion, words, and action. Give me the courage to do what is right and noble in your sight, so I can be humble instrument to reflect your light. Amen. Thank you very much, my dear friends, my dear colleagues, my dear brother. I appreciate you all for listening, for taking the pains, irrespective of the connectivity. It's always the case in Nigeria. We thank God. We want to bless God at everything. Thank you very much for this great opportunity. May God continue to restore us and empower us with good health of mind and body. As we go about empowering people, may God empower us to also. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, my dear sister, who has been patiently doing this work, and you have continued, the head of Europe. Thank you very much for your kind gesture, for all your work. May God continue to reward you and bless you with good health of mind and body. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye for now. May God continue to strengthen every one of us. God bless you all. Thank you.